Welcome to another episode of Cigars, Cocktails, and Conversation. I'm your host, John Barbie. We're at 8 Cigar Lounge, premier cigar lounge in Resorts World. Let's go in and grab a stick. So welcome to Cigars, Cocktails, and Conversation. We are at 8 Cigar Lounge, premier cigar lounge in Resorts World. Ever since I've been a member here at 8 Cigar Lounge, I've always dealt with Chaz, who is the cigar aficionado. He wants to call him the cigar bastard, but he's actually a cigar aficionado. So what he's going to do for us right now, he's going to grab a featured cigar and just kind of walk through like where it's made, the flavor, the notes in it. Chaz, what's going on, my man?
Hey guys, welcome to 8 Lounge. Let me show you guys a nice cigar, something special in here, and do our usual thing, taking care of Mr. John here.
I appreciate it. So Chaz, here we are. We are in the humidor at 8 Cigar Lounge. First of all, tell me about the humidor because I love the look. I love the cedar. It looks so classic. Tell me about it.
Yes, sir. So you know what? I think it starts with our owners first and foremost. You got to give them respect because they're smokers themselves.
Yeah.
So they like all the details, and I think a huge detail for us was providing these lockers inside of our humidor, our actual humidor as well. Not only are their cigars on the line, so are ours. We want to take care of everything just like it's our own, treat it like it's our own product, right? Even though it's something they brought from their house.
Yeah.
But it's nice because I go to other humidors and the humidors or personal lockers are outside of the humidor, which doesn't make sense to me. I like everything being enclosed in one environment, same temperature for every cigar throughout, day in and day out. And I think it's a little special in here, there's a lot of details.
I see the lockers. Who are some of your members that are part of 8 Cigar Lounge?
Yeah, so some of our members are Michael Jordan to start, Luke Bryan. We have Mr. Mark Davis, Marcel Reese, Darren Waller, and Marshawn Lynch. So a lot of Raiders players, but a lot of local guys as well. Some people that are doctors or lawyers or other business owners. But you don't have to be a celebrity just to be in here. So memberships go for $5,000 a year, and we take care of the guests with VIP dinners and free events and
you do some pairings. You do some great pairings.
Yes, sir. Yeah, plenty of pairings with cigars, and we like to take care of our guests just like some family members.
But I like the concept where you said not only is it an investment for the cigar lounge, but also when the members bring their cigars in, it's an investment for them as well because we don't want dried out cigars.
No, not at all, and we don't like that either. So we want to take care of your stuff, like I said, just like it's ours. Even though we're not going to smoke those cigars, we want to take care of them like we're. Like they're our babies as well.
All right, what are we smoking today? What are we grabbing today?
So today I have something very special. Today we are featuring the Liga Privada 10-year anniversary.
Oh, nice.
You can check that out. The reason why this cigar is so special is because it does feature a very hard San Andres wrapper, which is hard to grow and hard to smoke. But Drew Estate has taken the time to really tone it in and get the right blenders, get the right farms to put this together, and we're able to smoke this. It also features Honduran and Nicaraguan binder and fillers. So, a nice blend, razor sharp spice, nice leather and oakiness in here.
Okay, real quick. I'm smoking this cigar. What would I pair with it from a liquor standpoint?
You know what? I'm definitely going with something a little smoky. Believe it or not, just because I like a little spice in my cigar, I'm going to go with the Frey Ranch.
Okay.
House blend, something in the state as well. Support the local house. But,
okay.
Something nice and spicy, rich in flavor, something that'll compete with your cigar as well.
So some people don't realize that the flavors in cigars are phenomenal, and to pair it with a liquor that you're drinking or an alcohol beverage you're drinking, it kind of enhances the smoke, the whole experience.
Absolutely, and it all varies on the blends. Like I said, this is a very unique blend. Someone that wants something spicy, rich with a little burn. There's other profiles where we could go with a white wine and a nice mellow Dominican tobacco. So there's a few different things we can play with,
And that's fantastic. So what we're about to do now is that a friend of mine's coming in, and so I want you to pick out a cigar for us, and then we'll have a little liquor, and then we'll have a good conversation. All right?
We'll take care of it.
You bet.
Let me tell.
Hey,
Hey,
how
brother,
you
how you
doing?
doing?
Good. Hey, thanks for coming down.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's go in here and let's have a conversation. Let's have a cocktail. Let's have a
great.
cigar.
Sounds
All
wonderful.
right, come on. This is my man Sean Chaz. Sean Chaz. So Chaz is the 8 cigar aficionado.
Fantastic.
So what Chaz is going to do, he's going to walk in and we're going to pick out a cigar, something that we can enjoy while we're having a conversation, and kind of explain to us a little bit about what cigar that we're picking out. So
Excellent.
Let's go take a look.
All right.
Chaz, what are we smoking today?
So is there anything that you're a fan of or anything that you
So I've always
regular?
enjoyed a Nicaraguan.
Okay, very nice.
Okay, I particularly like Maduros,
Okay.
especially this time of day because I feel like it wakes up the palate.
Okay.
And it goes good with the drinks that I like to drink. So,
Is there anything you're planning on having to drink today?
so
or-
typically I drink whiskey when I smoke a cigar. So something that kind of opens up and lets the whiskey breathe a little better too.
Very nice. Well, in that case, you know what I'm thinking? We have the very coveted Padron Anniversary Series. This is one of the best Nicaraguans, in my opinion, around. It is all Nicaraguan pure. And what I would pair with this is, because it's such a top tier cigar, I'm going to go with the top tier drink, maybe a Macallan 12 year. If we want to go up a little bit higher, Macallan 18 year,
Very good.
spice it up a little bit.
Fair enough.
But again, top tier tobacco with the great drink. Nice sweetness on it, nice leather and
Very good.
oaky. It'd be a good pairing.
I agree, and you know Macallan's one of my favorite whiskeys, so
Really
you
nice.
did good.
Okay, very nice.
So that's it. We got the stick. We know what cocktail we're drinking. How about we go get the cocktail?
Sounds
Then we have a
great.
conversation. Okay, Sean, you got your cigar.
Yep.
All right, let's go this way. This is the best. I love coming into the cigar lounge right here because it actually opens up,
Love it.
and the artwork. I love the artwork. A friend of mine, David, is the artist on this. So I want to ask you a question, Sean. So, do you relate more to the horse or to the rhino?
Oh, that's a great question. So horses are known to run free, right? To be adventurous and run in herds. And I think a rhino is kind of more classified as a purposeful animal, right?
Uh-huh,
An animal
right.
that gets out there, he's got thick skin, he's out in the jungle, he's taking care of business. And I've always seen myself that way. In fact, there's an old proverb that if you light a fire in the jungle, a rhinoceros will come and stomp it out. I don't know if it's true, obviously. I've heard it as a youth, but I think that really kind of brings that sense of purpose into things, and I'm a purposeful man.
Okay.
I do things with intent and purpose and integrity, and I think that the rhinoceros represents that.
Okay,
better.
I think it's
I'm not
good.
quite the free spirit of a horse.
Right, right. And you know, the horse is kind of more, everybody relates to a horse because it's like, it's majestic.
Oh, yeah.
You can train it, it has a purpose. The
Correct.
rhino runs, and then with the cigars in their mouth,
I agree.
it just makes that much
Oh,
more.
and that guy's got reins on. When have you ever known me to be reined?
Exactly. Good answer. All right, let's go grab a drink. Perfect. And then we'll go have a conversation.
Sounds great.
All right, so we're at the bar. All
Yes.
right, we want a cocktail to go with our cigar. Now you mentioned the Macallan,
Yeah.
which you says is one of your favorite drinks. So we got a couple. We got a Whistle Pig, which I've actually had, which was fantastic, and then we got this Habuki. What do you think?
So, the thing I like about the Hibiki is that even though it's a Japanese whiskey, I feel like it kind of simulates the old like Scottish whiskey blends or the brands that you used to make, and it has a really deep flavor that's different from your traditional Macallan or my brain's going today, but some of your just more traditional scotches, right?
Exactly.
The Whistle Pig's really good because it's rye, and that's good American flavor. It gives you a depth and sweetness that a lot of the scotches won't give you, and that's why I
does.
like that too.
It
But
does.
you know, the Macallan's always a good staple, especially with the Padron. It lays down solidarity.
It does.
right?
It does. So I think Chaz is going to cut our sticks. Appreciate it. All right, let's go have a conversation.
Sounds great.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we went from cigars, we got our cocktails, now let's have a conversation.
Sounds great.
So Sean,
Yes, sir.
hey, I can just tell you, like, since I've been a part of Helping Hands of Vegas Valley, that's where we first connected.
Yes, sir.
And I've always saw you and your business partner and I and just smoking cigars, and really, I've seen you at different cigar lounges. It's like, hey, why is this guy following me? Where I'm going, you're going.
Yeah.
But then you realize that the cigar has a culture to it.
Correct.
And it's kind of therapeutic. Everybody has a cigar story. What's your story on how you got started smoking cigars?
Well, it actually kind of started about 20 years ago when I was kind of at the end of high school. I was in a band, not a good band, but we thought we were great. And my friend's dad had a Cigar Aficionado magazine sitting downstairs on the coffee table. And I had grown up watching Schwarzenegger movies. I'm a huge fan. Not so sure about the politics, but I love the Schwarzenegger. And you know, in all the old Schwarzenegger movies, he always had a cigar. So my friend's dad was like, oh yeah, you know, he got into it because a friend of his introduced him to it, and then like he would buy it for the movie set, and just had this whole thing around it. So when I was 18 years old, got ready for college, my friend's dad took me to his cigar bar. And I grew up in a small town in Greenville, South Carolina, which is a lot bigger than it used to be. And we went to this small little strip mall cigar shop, and I smoked my first cigar with him. And there was a bunch of old guys, came from all different walks of life, rich, poor, you know, some of them were ex-military. A lot of these guys just had a different story, and they sat around and they talked and they smoked a cigar. And you know, at first I had to learn what I was doing, right? Because, you know, you try to draw and you take a little puff because you're scared. Then you inhale that thing and it changes your life for a few moments. And then the longer I got into it, the more I just realized that, like, this is what I could do, you know? And so when I got out of college, I got to more like a professional lifestyle. I just found those places as a place of comfort. And a couple of years ago, I moved from South Carolina to Las Vegas for work, and didn't know anybody. The family still hadn't transitioned out here, so I was out here quite a bit by myself. So I found a local cigar bar because I felt safe and at home there, and they had the cigar I liked, and I felt like they had the whiskey I liked, so I felt like I had checked all the boxes there. And showed up, and in the evenings after work, I kind of got to bond with people I didn't know, and again, all walks of life. And Vegas is a melting pot, you know, as opposed to Greenville, South Carolina, where I feel like I don't get exposed to as much. And so I learned a lot about the culture here. And when Ian came to start working for me, something that he had enjoyed too, and occasionally we'd find ourselves doing events where you were around, and somehow or another we ended up at the same place.
It's like a brotherhood.
It was much like a brotherhood.
And then finding someone that you can smoke with is almost like for me, it was like it's a counseling session. Because anything that I'm going through during the day, as I'm taking a draw, kind of taking the hit, relaxing a little bit, now I can tell you like what I'm going through.
Right.
So for me, I didn't start till I was in Cuba, Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Makes sense.
Deployed there. And the chaplain had a bag of cigars. We brought them out, and it's like, hey, let's just smoke and enjoy the weather. And we did, but what it did, it opened up some of the issues that we were going through. So for me, cigars saved me probably from having a mental breakdown of what we see on a daily basis.
Sure.
Being deployed to Iraq, being mobilized to Cuba 3 times to deal with our guests at Guantanamo Bay, it kind of weighs on you a little bit. So we were able to talk those things out.
I would say that was really important when I worked. So I worked in the emergency room in the hospital for years. I was a respiratory therapist, and one of the crucial moments is the moment after, right? So when you're and I'm sure this is the same thing with you, when you're in the heat of whatever mission you're on or you're deployed on. For me, it was, you know, a code or a trauma that would come in. Afterwards, there's this huge release where everything hits you, all the things you saw, all the things you experienced. And it was nice because when I would go to the cigar bar, I would often find doctors, I would find other professionals, and whether they worked in healthcare or the military, I think it gave us an opportunity just to talk. And we could talk about whatever we wanted. And you got plenty of time to talk, because you're not gonna like pound one of these in a 5-minute deal, you know? It's not like a quick smoke behind the restaurant before you go back in. You know, this is an enterprise, right? You get invested to do the process, right? And the process is you're smoking this great cigar, you're looking for companionship in a way, and it's always there. People that smoke cigars, that automatically elevate to that like sharing culture.
It does.
You rarely find someone sitting there that doesn't want to talk to somebody else. You know?
You can't help it. Just like I said, I mean, you either from a 30-minute smoke to an hour smoke to an hour and a half smoke, we're going.
I've had some of those, you know, the 2x4s that you can smoke for days. Yeah.
You're holding it like
Yeah,
this.
that's right. I got actually a stand that holds the end of the cigar up.
So you talked about coming from South Carolina. What do you do?
So I work in healthcare management. You know, I started in the hospital system. I was a respiratory therapist. It was really weird because at a young age, I had no interest in healthcare. All my family was in it, but I wasn't really interested in it. I went to college. I was a chemistry and math major who did not like lab. In other words, I hated the hours I spent in the chemistry lab, loved the results and loved the math of it, just didn't like the lab work. Because I like to talk and socialize, and that's not the place to do it. And I was a math major, but I was really interested in like theoretical algebra, group theory, things like that, which is fun. It's really exciting, and unless you have like a master's or doctorate and you want to teach it, it's not really practical for the real world. I had tried to go in the military, but I had so many injuries from playing high school sports and then just being a rambunctious young man that the Marines turned me down because I had this dream of being in the Marine Corps band, and I was scared of the Navy. I didn't want to get stuck on a boat. I'm I like to be out there and adventure, and I just had this like idea of being surrounded by nothing but sea, or being on a sub, heaven forbid, and being under all that water. It didn't really give me trepidation. It just gave me this like small, like it kept closing in on my brain, like there's just not a world to explore because you're trapped. So, and I think there was some naivety about that. Like I feel like as an adult now, I'm like, I really should have done that. That would have been a cool way to adventure out and take a few years to understand who I was as a man. But instead, I invested that in a chemistry lab and doing math. And then I ended up selling overhead cranes for my friend's dad. So before 9/11 happened, my friend's dad hired me to do overhead cranes and monorail sales. There's a lot of factories in South Carolina, there's a lot of warehousing, and they need these elaborate systems, hoist systems, to move product around the warehouses, looms, and textile mills. But after 9/11, I mean, months after 9/11, jobs evaporated. Mills closed down left and right. I don't know if that was really, it seemed like the catalyst. I don't know if it was, or that was already happening and that just kind of fell in, you know, kind of like the last domino. But I found myself unemployed, so I found myself bartending, and lo and behold, another person hired me to run an NCO club on a military base, decommissioned.
Really?
So I worked for DSCC.
Okay.
Columbus, Ohio. I sat in a bar next to a golf course. You know, I talked to a lot of military professionals. You know, I call them that because some people were, you know, they may like talk to colonels, I've talked to admirals, I talked to guys that ordered supplies for the 3rd unit of this division and that battalion. I talked to a lot of IT guys, and DFAS was also there, so I got to talk to people that did like accounting and stuff like that. So after a very rigorous background check and spending quite a few months working on a military base, they kind of closed down for the season, and I realized I didn't want to live like that anymore. Like, you know, I mentioned being in a band when I was young, you know, and so I always thought music was my way.
What's the name of the band?
Well, so many names. I don't know that I can remember. For a while we were called Glass Harbor, which seems awesome, but also terrible at the same time, right? Which truly came from the name we picked up because we were in Baltimore, playing one weekend at 18, and the harbor looks like glass at night, and I think it's amazing, and we call ourselves, but anyway, we weren't from Baltimore, so I had no cultural relevance. It was just a cool name that we picked up. I think we were called, what was the name? Purple Hyenas one time. For like a week, because that's what you do when you're in a band that doesn't know their identity.
The name.
Always. That's high school boys trying to be professional musicians. And
wait, what did you play?
So I played a saxophone and guitar.
Can you still play?
I can. I don't play saxophone anymore because it's probably been 15 years since I picked one up. I still play guitar.
Go ahead, bring the sax.
Oh gosh.
And the bring the sax in and guitar.
Yeah.
We're gonna make this happen right now.
Specifically, I was a bari sax player. Nobody does that anymore. You see it very rarely. But that's a baritone saxophone, big monster of a thing. I had to march that thing around the football field. It was crazy. But I loved it. I love music. I love the history of music. I love different genres of music. But that's another thing I like about cigars. You can sit there. You can enjoy some good music. It gives you time to contemplate. It slows your life down.
It does.
Right? That's the purpose of it. It gives you time to reflect, gives you purpose in a sense. You know, the healthcare respiratory therapist in me, it has to note that, you know, it's not the healthiest of habits if you do it all the time. But, you know, like a glass of wine or a glass of whiskey or, you know, anything else that you might do, anything in moderation, I feel like is an appropriate response, right? So that's my caveat for the healthcare in me, but I enjoy it. It's part of the culture, and I think the culture stems race, it stems, religion. You never know who you could run into in a cigar bar.
All right, so Soul Cranes, and how do we get to Centerwell?
So after years of realizing that I didn't want to do like the in and out of food service and things like that, and management had always kind of been a skill set I possessed, but a people leader. I went back to school with healthcare. I said, okay, well, I've got all this math, I've got all this chemistry. Maybe it's time for me to invest in that, right? Like I went through all the process, let's do something with it. So we got a degree in respiratory therapy. I worked in a hospital, had a lot of fun. Nothing is more interesting than when you say you have fun in a hospital, because it sounds like counterproductive. But you got to see a lot of stuff, exposure. I met a lot of awesome people that work in healthcare, especially when you work trauma. You do it because you have a passion for helping people.
You do.
But you have a mindset of urgency. It's almost like, and I don't know this because I've never done it, but I feel like it's going to war, right? So you have a lot of downtime, and then you have high impact.
Exactly.
And then you have a lot of downtime and then high impact. And some days it's high impact for 12 hours. And I think that what I really gained from it was a sense of like team. So like I was always at the head of the bed, right? Because I'm pumping, making sure the oxygen's getting in there, running a ventilator. And I always looked down the bed at what was going on. And it was almost like this third experience where, like, while I'm in the act of doing things, my second brain was kicking in and watching the nurses tap for blood, the doctors do what they're doing, the x-ray techs coming in. It was always this like
an orchestra.
Yeah,
like
it was
working,
very orchestratic.
Moving.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the sounds and the lights, and it was a very busy environment. And after years of doing that, I realized I really wanted to elevate that, right? I wanted to get into healthcare management. And at the time, and I think I'm going to use the word bureaucracy, exists in a lot of industries. It was more about the time you put in than your skill set. And going into a career a little bit later in life, having almost 10 years of management behind me at that time, I decided that I really wanted to advance. So I came out of the hospital and went into home care.
Okay.
I ran a durable medical equipment company, and so for those that don't know what the heck a DME company is, they do home oxygen, CPAPs, and home ventilators. So I ran home ventilators for kids and adults, which was really touching, really moving. Having worked in the acute care situation, that emergent care, being able to see the long-term productivity of that work and that life-saving work that we did was really great. And then I got a call on my honeymoon from a lady that said, hey, we need someone to run a company. Can you come run our branch here in South Carolina? I was like, well, I'm out in the field all day. It's like, well, I'm on my honeymoon, ironically enough.
Right.
I'll give you a call when I got back to town. I came, and somebody I'd worked with had noticed, my drive and ability. And so they brought me on board, and I did that for 8 years. And then a random call came one day. Hey, I know this great business. They do value-based care for seniors. I think you'd really be interested in it. You should apply. And at the time, I was like, wow, I got a good thing here. I'm, got my #1 little market. I'm doing fine. Things are good, And but they called me back. It was my friend's wife, who is a social worker, and she worked for Centerwell, the company I work for now, and she was like, you got to check this out. So I went and I met with the guy that ran the market, the state of South Carolina and North Carolina, and he said, we're in this to help people. And I went in thinking I'm doing this because I was told to, right? And I came out just desiring to be a part of this culture and this community.
Part of who you are.
Yeah, it really.
Healthcare is a whole different type of mindset that you have to deal with on a daily basis.
Correct.
Being a police officer in Kansas City, Missouri, having to take trauma victims into that type of environment and just watch, like you said, it's an environment. Everyone has a position, everyone plays their role, and they're all, what I like about it is that they were focusing on saving this one life.
Sure, yeah.
One life at a time. For them, that was important.
Absolutely.
So I kind of love that, but you have to have a heart for it.
I agree. It's hard on you too, because you see things that, the most humans are never going to see somebody's chest completely exposed so they can pump a heart.
Yes.
Gunshot wounds are vicious, because minutes, hours afterwards, they keep coalescing. You know what I mean? Burns are the absolute worst. There's a smell that I can never explain to anybody that comes associated with that. And these are things that leave an impression in your brain.
It does.
And you have to learn to cope with them. And this is one of my coping mechanisms. Maybe it's not the best coping mechanism, but it's certainly one that I found to be my coping mechanism, right?
And that's why I always come back to cigars. Because you're sitting here, you're having a conversation.
Correct.
you're going to be here for at least an hour.
Yeah.
So,
Or more if he keeps going out on it.
exactly. So just why not, get some of the things off your chest that you're dealing with in a safe environment. It's almost like a impromptu counseling session, and then you can go home, deal with whatever family issue you have to deal with, because you was able to get some of the things off your chest, and that's what it does. That's what cigars have done for me.
I agree.
So I really enjoy.
And I can listen to your story, and it helps me help my own, right? So the stresses of my life are empathized through the things that you've gone through, because you're talking to me about it. Sometimes maybe you're just talking about any particular ball team you like. I won't say any names just in case there's any fans out there. I don't want to poke any bears, but I'm a Bengals fan and have suffered through that for many years.
I was gonna say any names.
I'll pick on my own team.
Okay,
It's
all right. You pick on your own team.
And now that I see some great action out of them, I feel like I can
Now you can
explain that.
actually put it out.
That's right. I actually have a hat and I wear it all the time. People are like, really? And in Las Vegas, I can get jumped for wearing that hat, so I have to be very careful. But I think that's the other thing too, is if you're into sports, there's a sports guy. You know what I mean? If you're into ham radio, I talked to a guy the other day. I just stopped in a cigar bar, picked up a cigar, and noticed that he had a ham call sign on his hat. Had a conversation with him. 20 minutes later, I will say that I was not that interested at the moment, but by the end of the conversation, I knew this guy just wanted to share, and I wanted to listen.
Yeah.
And that's what it's
That's
about.
all we need.
Yeah.
You know what, Sean? I really appreciate you coming down. I know you're very busy. I know you guys are doing a lot for the community. Our partnership with Helping Hands of Vegas Valley has been fantastic.
Yeah.
But even beyond that, on top of that, I must say that just being able to see you in the different venues and the different things that we do, and see you and I, and just sitting in the corner smoking a cigar,
Yeah.
and just come right, just like this brotherhood.
It is.
So I appreciate you coming down and kind of
Absolutely.
sharing your story.
And thanks for telling me a little bit more about yourself. I feel like that we have the surface guys that we are. When you're a community figurehead and you sit on boards and things like that, people get about this much of your life. They get about this much of the history. They see the now. They don't know what built the now.
Exactly.
And I'm appreciative of time to build the past.
Tell your story. So there it is, cigars, cocktails, and conversation. I want to thank Sean for coming down. This is the first episode
Oh, I'm number one.
of the show. Number one, of course.
Number one.
Hey, I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this time. What a great venue to do it in, 8 Cigar Lounge. Really
Eight
set
Cigar
me up.
Lounge, Resorts World,
Yeah.
Las Vegas. I love the atmosphere, love the environment. Just like you said, you never know who you're going to meet
True.
coming in and smoking a cigar. At least we have this common bond right here, which will bring us together.
I agree.
Maybe this will save the world.
Well, it should.
It should.
That's right.
Thank you, guys.